Hi, thank you for joining me tonight. Hang on just a second. I hope you're doing well tonight, wherever you are. The internet on my iPad isn't working unless I go into the settings every time and turn it off and then turn it on again. It tells me there's no internet. I think we may actually have it. Okay, good. Then I just have to get to Facebook. So the star of our show tonight is a stamp set, and it's a purely sentiment stamp set. And it's new to me. I don't think it's brand new, but it's new to me. And I like it a lot because it has what I call innies and outies. And if you know what that means, I'm not referring to belly buttons. It has, I think I matched them up. I wanted to make like little sample cards just with the sentiments, but I never got a chance to do it. But the idea is that there's a sentiment on the outside and one on the inside, where sometimes there isn't. And when that happens, you'll very often see me just saying, that I'm going to pull a sentiment from another set or write my own note inside, and that's perfectly okay too. All right, and now you know who thinks I'm talking to me. And he's telling me he didn't get it, and that's because I didn't say anything. Does anybody else have that problem with you-know-who? Like I said, I hate to even say his name out loud because then he thinks we're having a conversation. All right, 11 Lake Stamper, that's me. Let's see where I am. There I am. Okay, looks good. I'm going to go ahead and put the camera down. Oh, that's really strange. The post that popped up is from 2 years ago. All right, it says I'm live, but hang on, because the group doesn't seem to know that yet. There we go. Okay, that's me. Sorry about that. There's always something. That's just the way it is. All right, let me turn the camera down, and we will get going. I have no idea what you might hear tonight. I'm thinking that at 7 o'clock it's all over, but they are putting a new roof on this building, and it has been interesting. I honestly don't think that the worst of it has anything to do with the pounding or the nailing or the anything, but the workers are screaming back and forth to each other. So workers on the ground, excuse me, are screaming up to workers on the roof, and it's just been very loud. My voice has been fine all day. All day. Now it goes. I have been talking a lot today, though, and not to myself or to cats, to real people. Okay, so I'm Roberta Colosino, and the name of my business and this group is 11 Lake Stamper. This is the 11 Lake Stamper Creatives group on Facebook. It's a public group, and all are welcome to join. Then I have 11 Lake Stamper also on YouTube, and I do have a website which is down at the moment. I find that keeping a blog really takes a huge amount of time, and I've heard a lot of demonstrators say that they're giving it up, and I'm just not sure. I have mixed feelings about it, so I kind of keep it there, but I have to take it down every once in a while. Anyway, if you'd like to shop with me, www.rcolosino.stampinup.net. All right, so let's just throw it on the floor. The stamp set that we're working with today is called The Right Words. And when I said that we would also have some techniques, I would like to do, a lot of my videos were lost, as you know, they were taken down before I got a chance to put them up on YouTube. I've been trying to sort of catalog them and find out, or try to remember what's missing. But one of my favorite things to do, and I was doing it this week with my journals, is to take scraps of designer series paper, or in the case of my journals, I don't always use, in fact, I rarely use our designer series paper because I like to save that for cards, but sometimes I do, so I tend to buy like those cheaper big packs of scrapbook paper, and I tell you, when you work with that paper, you realize how good our paper is because it's so flimsy. It's basically like typing paper or copy paper that just got, printed on. Anyway, so I've been making what I like to call scrap buster cards. Some people call them scrappy cards. And I think I came up with a lot of nice things, some of which I've made before, I know I have, but I think that they're lost. And we all have those piles of scraps at home. Don't say you don't, because we all do. All right, so this one is called The Right Words, and it is one of the last cling stamp sets. So once these are gone, once they've all sold, whichever ones we have in cling, they will not continue because we are going strictly to photopolymer. Now, whether or not they would carry over a stamp set and just make it photopolymer when it was cling before, I don't know. I haven't heard yay or nay to that, so I don't know if they would do that or not. I honestly don't. I should ask somebody in the know. There's a few people I know who are in the know. Okay, so we have, let's see. I wish they had them in the right order, though. So I think this is the way it goes. I wish I had the right words for a time like this, but just know how much I love and care about you. So this one would be on the outside, and that one would be on the inside. All right, and then you've got happy birthday and to someone worth celebrating every single day. So you could probably do that either way, inside or outside for either one. Then that's you're so kind, and then I thought there was a thank you here somewhere. Maybe not. Then there's a thanks so much for thinking of me. Okay, well that could be it. So this could be the outie. Thanks so much for thinking of me. You're so kind. Okay, or thanks. Well, and then where does a lot come in? I knew I had this down. I did. All right. Let's see. Forever loved, forever remembered, which certainly sounds like a sympathy. And there's one that says, hoping the loss you feel right now will be eased by wonderful memories. I know a good thing when I see it, and I see lots of good things in you. That one doesn't necessarily have to have something after it, but it could be, you're so kind. Sending good vibes. I really don't like that you're leaving, but I hope you love where you're going. I think that's a great sentiment, because sometimes we just do things like, I'm going to miss you, and here it says I miss you already. That could go with that. The fonts seem to be the same as well, but I just like that sentiment. I really don't like that you're leaving, but I hope you love where you're going. So I'm just really enjoying this stamp set tonight. We're using Sending Good Vibes for sure, and Happy Birthday for sure, and the others I haven't made up my mind completely. So let's see, do we want to start out by making cards or sort of by show and tell? I have to reach behind me, which could sometimes lead to disaster if I turn something upside down. Okay, I also had a couple of, seeing as how Easter is on Sunday and I know it's getting kind of late, I'm making these little treat baskets, which I know I've made before, but whether you've seen them because they were taken down or not, I don't know. This one I think is not coming up yet. Let me see. All right, we'll start with this one. So basically what I did was I put the pack of paper with the card pieces inside of it so that I would remember to show you the pack of paper too. So this is the Painted Illusions Designer Series paper, and if I'm correct, this was either December, no, not December. This would be February's. I think this was February's product of the month. That's what I think. I hope I'm right, but I honestly am not sure. Okay, so this card, we're going to, I think this is the one I decided was going to have to go through the, well, there are two that could go through the embossing folder. I think this one's not it. All right, so this, the colors in this are very, very pretty. The colors in this paper are Darling Duckling, Flirty Flamingo, Granny Apple Green, Lost Lagoon, Misty Moonlight, Petal Pink, and Pretty Peacock. All right, so let's set that aside. I don't think I'll need the paper anymore. And I did do some of the prep work ahead of time. So for this one, I used a 2.5-inch circle punch in a color Flirty Flamingo that would match this, and I used a 2 1/4. Now initially I had grabbed the 2 3/8, and I didn't like that because it didn't show enough of the Flirty Flamingo. So I canned that one and went with 2 1/4, and I really could even go smaller possibly. All right, and the 3 just means that this is card number 3, which tells you already I'm totally out of order, and that's perfectly. I'll show you why I cut them. This is the inside. Let's get that out of the way. Well, one is the inside and one is the outside, so let's take a look at that. So for the outside, you're not going to even see this one. We're just going to use this one to build what we're doing. So I'm even going to put the card base away for right now. All right, so what we are doing is we are using these two things, and this will be our sentiment here stamped on that white paper. And we are making kind of a sunburst, starburst thing. All right, so we're going to take some of the long ones. I made them different lengths, and this is also one of the scrappy cards where not all of the strips are going to be straight. We're going to have to angle them a little bit. All right, at least I think it'll probably come out better if we do, because the idea is for it to be narrower at the bottom and wider at the top. All right, and obviously we don't need anything that long, so I'm going to start right off with my mini trimmer over here, trimming that just so that it's not so unwieldy to deal with. And then, well, this is still hard with this trimmer. See, that's the only problem with this trimmer. I say this every time. It's real cute and everything, but it doesn't, it's very, very limited. So we'll have to get out the larger cutter. And what I'm going to do is leave that wide at the top and just trim it off. I don't want it to be like pointy at the bottom, but trim it off a little bit. And we'll see how that works. I haven't made one of these cards in quite a while. And then the idea is that we are going to put that down here, and it's going to hang off there, and we're going to cut it and hang off there. And then this will be going over the whole thing, kind of in the corner. All right? So we're just going to kind of keep doing that. Now the paper that I have is two-sided. So yes, I've used that side, but I didn't use this side. So I can use that. And the same thing with these. We're going to need some smaller pieces down on the edge, but this is two-sided, and it's a different color configuration than this one. I think I grabbed a couple. I don't know if I'm going to need them all or not, but I did want to make sure that I had enough. And this one has this, I don't know if that's Lost Lagoon. It kind of looks like Lost Lagoon. And some of them are thinner than others, and that was intentional as well. All right, so we're going to cut this down just a tiny bit, so it's just a little bit shorter. And then put it in with wide on the top and just narrowing down a little bit on the bottom, but not too much. Oh, hang on, it's moving on me. All right, so sometimes when you've only got a thin piece at the top or the bottom, it's not a bad idea to press it down and then start in the middle and go up and down or down and up. All right, sometimes that's very helpful. And we might end up having to use some of these little slivers to fill in at some point. So we will find out, because we do need this whole thing covered. All right, it's okay if we see a little bit of the white underneath. At least it won't bother me. I don't know if it'll bother you or not. All right, now we've got this one, and I like those colors, but I'm going to trim it down a little bit. And then we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to try to keep this one a little bit wider, like almost keep the whole width of the whole top, and then just a smaller angle. And I'm going to put it down in the middle and go up and down. Okay, so this one is really barely angled at all, but I think that's okay. And remember, some of it's going to be hidden under that circle anyway. So now I'm going to come up a little bit. I want to make sure that this is hanging over so I can cut it. Okay. I might want a skinny strip in the middle there. I don't know if I want it to be as skinny as that, but maybe. Or maybe, I like it when the size, when there's some variety. So we could do that. And then this, I think I'm going to like that. Okay, and then we've got this one, which we haven't used yet. So I'm going to cut that down a little bit. Let's see, I think I want some of those brighter colors, so we'll cut it this way. I think I'm going to want to see some of those brighter colors on the top. So I'm going to try to leave this one pretty wide at the top again, and then just angled a little bit at the bottom. It's kind of hard to figure out what you're doing. All right, let's see. We've got that there. Now sometimes with a card like this, what you do is you have a small hangover on one part of the card, and a larger hangover on the other part of the card, because you might actually need to use some of the larger pieces that you trim off here if you run out and you can't fill it all up. All right, so we can put one of those over here and just angle it a little bit. I think for this part of the angling, I'm going to put this trimmer away and get out the smaller one. It's a little bit easier for me to see what I'm doing with this one. Okay, and let's see, we'll put that over here. So you can kind of see where I'm going with that, right? And you can see what I'm doing. Yes, you can. Okay. I hope I have enough variety here, but of course I'm not sure if I'm going to or not. And I haven't used these at all yet. And I still have, oh, no, I did use that, and I used that. I don't think I mind if there are some doubles, but we can try not to have too many of them. Let's see, so we haven't used this yet, so let's use this up here. And again, I'll try to keep the angle, try to keep most of the size of the top. Okay. And I don't think I'd mind having some more of that over here. So some people do call this a sunburst card. I'm just kind of calling the whole thing by the category, scrappy cards or scrap buster cards, but this certainly is or will look like a sunburst card, I hope, when I'm done with it. All right, and let's see. So we just need some like smidgens over here. So let's see if we can really just kind of make a smidgen, and we'll be able to trim that off, so that's not a problem. And then we need a smidgen over there, and I wouldn't mind using that green again. So that should do it. And then, of course, we have to glue it and then trim it. You can glue it as you go along. That takes a little bit of confidence sometimes, and sometimes I'm not sure I want to do that. Sometimes I think I need to see more of what it's going to look like. But if you have the confidence to do that, you go right ahead and do it. And of course, now I can't see a thing, that's under here. So I think I'm going to start with this one that's kind of the center. And I'm going to get some glue going there. Okay, and then I'm going to lift this one up and get some glue going there. And you can see I'm not putting glue any place but right there, and that's just for now. I want to make sure they're pushed up against each other but not overlapping if I can help it. And then some more glue right here. Okay. This can be a little bit fiddly. I think this might be the fiddliest card I've got going tonight, maybe the second fiddliest. We'll see. All right, sometimes this last piece is a bit of a problem because sometimes it's even smaller than this, depending on how you've done it, and so you really have to be careful that it does stay in place. Okay, now where I started with that one, right? Yep, okay. So now we'll get some glue on there. So they have this scaffolding literally right outside my porch window, and hanging off of the scaffolding is this very interesting system. It's basically what looks like a bunch of giant Solo cups. It's the only way I can put it, only they're black, not red. And they hang down, and they stack them one on top of the other, and it creates like a funnel or a tube, and they throw all of the junk off the roof, and it goes down the tube or down the chute and into a, what do you call it, those big trucks, a dump truck. And when it gets really full, somebody drives the dump truck away and another one gets moved into its place. And they just kind of keep rotating. All right, I'm going to do a little bit of trimming just because it's difficult for me to see what's happening here. So I'm just going to start some trimming with the areas where I glued. And then we'll finish gluing. So you see on the front here, or the top piece, whatever you want to call it, I've only got a little bit of scraps, but down here I would have some more, and if I needed those I could use them. And that's kind of nice. I've done these using much thinner strips where you do end up needing to piece all these very tiny little pieces in. Okay, so let's turn it over and let's see, I just need a tiny bit there, just a tiny bit. Trimming just again so I can kind of see what I'm doing. And then if the stuff in the chute gets clogged, then the guy he stands on the edge of the dump truck, which looks kind of scary, like it looks like he could fall off if he sneezed, but apparently he does this a lot. So if the chute gets clogged, then he screams for everybody to stop, and it gets very dramatic. Because one guy screams to another guy, and then they're all screaming at each other. And that's what I've been listening to all day today. Well, I did go to the store for a little while to kind of get out. And my favorite place to work when I'm here is out on the porch, because it's like being outside without quite being outside. But that was a little difficult to do today. Okay, so now what I did was I glued down each end and left the middle unglued. So that wasn't too good. That wasn't too smart on my part. There we go. So once you get the hang of it, it's easy. Would I want to make, 20 of these in a day? Probably not. But you can do, so I've been doing this with junk journal stuff all week. It's what's called mass making. So it's like if you're in a card swap, you have everything laid out in front of you and you just do it sort of assembly line style. So if you wanted to use one of these cards for something like that, where you were giving them away to people, or I have a friend who I'm actually a team member who makes greeting cards for her family, whatever the occasion might be, and everybody gets the same card. So she just mass makes those cards, and she's probably got it down to an assembly line style, and then it's really not so bad. So it's very weird looking, as you're working on it, it's really hard to tell what the heck it's going to be when it grows up. But here you go. This one I obviously just did not pay attention to, so let me show you a little trick. When you've got a spot like that that's sticking up and you've got to get some glue underneath it, I put glue on the end of any scrap of paper. I take it and I stick it underneath. I kind of wiggle jiggle it around, and then I press down and pull out. And now it's glued down. And if I needed to do it again in another spot, I would do the same thing. It's a pretty good trick. It works most of the time. So now we've got a card topper that, took more than a minute to make, but that's all right. And those colors were absolutely meant to go with the Flirty Flamingo, so it's a wonderful match. The bone folder is important because, as you saw, the card just kept trying to flop up on me, and it's hard to work on it when it's flopping around. So this is your typical A2 card, and this topper, the white background that we used, is 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, and then let's see what we've got for an innie and an outie. So what's going to happen here is that this is just going to kind of get covered up. Yes, I know why, because this has to get cut off. So this goes down like that and gets cut off. And really, you know what? I should have put it on the other way, because take a look. This is where the skinnier ones are that makes it look more like it's coming out like a sunburst. So I kind of screwed up there. So that the narrower ones should be on the bottom. But I think it's going to be a pretty card no matter what, so I'm just not worried about it. And then this gets trimmed off so that it looks like it's coming out of there and you don't see pieces underneath. Okay, so either way, so yes, maybe skinnier would have been better. Alrighty, I want to make sure I have it going in the right direction. And then certainly not a sympathy card. It's a little too happy for a sympathy card. So here's an idea. So the "to someone worth celebrating every single day" is one of those great sentiments. Now I have to find it reading backwards. Here it is. Because I could certainly put happy birthday on the inside, but I'm going to choose not to. I'm going to choose to leave it blank. And the reason I'm going to do that is because now I can use this for happy birthday, happy graduation, happy anniversary, happy promotion, happy retirement. You get the picture. Okay, I can use it for whatever I want. And it's a bigger sentiment, so it's going to take up some room there, which is good too. And I think I want to use Misty Moonlight instead of black for this one. Okay, and Misty Moonlight's another one of those colors. Maybe I shouldn't say it yet. I'll wait. Okay, Misty Moonlight's another one of those colors that I'm always happy with the way it stamps. I was afraid if I said that first, something bad would happen. So I was like, shut up, Roberta, don't say it. Don't say a word, you'll mess it up. The humidity here has been making a real problem for me, because if I touch anything that I just stamped, it smears. And it's got to be the humidity, because that never happens at home unless I'm using like a really thick stamp or a really dark, rich color. And I've been smearing cards and smearing sentiments and stuff all week. Just, I think, because of the humidity. And that's even with the AC on. So I'm trying really hard not to touch that part of the card. I don't even want to go over it with the bone folder, but I definitely don't want to go over it with my fingers. Okay. So we've got that. I think this would be good to pop up. Where are those things? Here they are. And now I'm afraid to touch it. Well, all right. Remember, we're going to cut it off the edge so we won't be seeing the whole circle. I want to make sure I don't cut some of my sentiment off. That would be bad too. Alright, and if I do decide that I need more dimensionals, I can slide those in underneath without any problem. So we're going to have it come down a little bit. And then I'm just going to flip it over. I like to open the card when I do this. It's a little bit harder when you've used the dimensionals, just so you know, because it's not flush. Yeah, and of course I'm cutting through 2 layers too, so I got to be careful. Okay. Yeah, I have to be careful that I don't cut into my card, and I did just the tiniest bit. Okay. So there we go. All right, I think that's really pretty. I just love the colors. Very colorful. And I'm leaving the inside blank for now until I decide what it is we're going to be celebrating. Okay, next. This card is a kind of a similar thing. All right, so this one, where I started it, but we're building it together, and then I have at least 2 things that I'm just going to show you that are already made. So this is going to be a happy birthday card, and this card has banners that come down. All right, and just to be honest with you, the banner punch, the Pick a Banner punch, is not current right now, and the one that is current is this Happy Labels Pick a Punch with these. This one kind of looks like a ticket, and this one is scalloped. But for this kind of a card, I really like the banners. And just remember that even if you don't have a banner punch, Hey Amy, how are you? Even if you don't have a banner punch, you can still do this. Now again, these are two-sided papers, so I get to decide which side I want to use where. Okay, this paper is a little weird because it looks like it's got some doves with their heads chopped off, so maybe, I think we might have to use it no matter what, but maybe not. Well, you know what, this one's better because you can see their heads. So that's a little bit nicer. Now I purposely left them long because I wanted to arrange them before I decided what I was going to do where. All right, and they can overlap. In fact, they really should overlap just a little bit. So let's see, what have I got there? I've got that one. And I may not have enough. Let's see, and if worse comes to worse, what I can do, oh yeah, I definitely can do that, is to cut one of those and use it again. Alright, so let me show you what I was talking about. If you don't have a banner punch, you honestly don't need one. You can make a little slit right up the middle, and if it's white on the back, which ours usually isn't, you can flip it over. It's a little easier to see what you're doing. And then you cut in towards that slit on both sides. And there's your banner. So it may not be at the same exact angle as this one, but it's darn close. So that's how you can make a banner tip without having a banner punch. So it doesn't matter, you don't always need that stuff. Alright, so we will have to like double up and use some twice, and that's okay. And then I've got this, looks like stars in the sky. So this was kind of a Christmassy paper, but at this point, I don't see anything Christmassy. I'm not even sure. I mean, people use doves at weddings, right? They're not necessarily a Christmas thing. At least I don't think so. So let's see if I can overlap these just a tiny, tiny bit. All right, I'm just gonna reach over here and do my trimming there. I'm not sure how long I want them to be. Now here's the other thing. This is going to go over and cover some of that. So if I want this to be longer, I can bring that down because this is going to cover it. Now I'm going to do something that some of my customers hate when I do, but you don't have to do it. All right, I'm going to tear the paper. And I'm tearing it away from me because when you tear it towards you, you get that kind of ratty looking stuff. And yes, this is a ratty looking edge, but you don't see, hang on, I'll show you what I mean in just a second. All right, so if you tear the paper towards you, the part that you're keeping has that kind of thin part on it, like the center. Focus, focus, focus. Okay, it doesn't really want to focus, and now I'm in the wrong direction again. Come on. There we go. So anyway, and then if you pull it towards you or you tear it away from you, you get kind of a smoother torn edge, if there is such a thing as a smoother torn edge. Okay, so this one I think, and actually I can use my scissor to cut because this doesn't even have to be a straight edge, does it? No, it doesn't. All right, so we can do some of that. I'm just trying to see if I can, how much overlapping I can do. I think I kind of want to go light, dark, and then maybe this one would be shorter, but not as short as the other one that looks like that, maybe. And then that one, oh, that's way too long. Way too long. Okay. And then, yeah, so we'll be able to overlap, and I think I like that color combination. So I'll start gluing, and then we'll go from there. Now, what some people do as well, if they like a little bit of texture to their card, and I know it's going in an envelope, so it's probably going to get flattened out, but maybe it would still show a little bit of the texture. Now, I kind of overdid that just to kind of show you, but I'll put it down and then I'll flatten it out a little bit. So I'm going to try to think if I want to leave a border here or not. I think not. I think I just want it to be right up against the edge. Okay, so I'm going to press it down, but I didn't put glue all the way down to the tips. Now you could, if that's going to bother you, that's certainly entirely up to you. Entirely up to you. I'm just going to do it again. It's kind of like you're curling some ribbon. Now, Amy, I thought I might get to go to Linda's April crop, but I've decided to stay this year. And I, along with some friends, were putting on an Easter dinner here for anybody in the community that maybe doesn't have any family around or would just like to hang out with some other people. And Comcast, I should say something good about Comcast, because very often, you know, Comcast and Xfinity are the same thing, and Xfinity is who is our internet provider here. And sometimes we don't have a lot of good things to say about them, but they have offered to sponsor our Easter dinner. Our property manager talked to them about it, and they said they would sponsor it. And I thought that was kind of cool, because I thought usually companies only sponsored things that were like for a not-profit or something. And I'm very sure that they know we're not they know we're not a non-profit. Now they're bringing food, and my guess is that they might want to stay, and maybe they'll want to talk to us for a few minutes about, you know, Comcast and maybe getting Xfinity. Although honestly, I think everybody here already has it, and they might need to watch what they wish for, because it could turn into people saying, "Well, I would get Xfinity if I heard that it worked." You know, there's always a problem though. We have Spectrum at home in New York, and that's a problem sometimes too. And I know people who have Verizon, and they have problems. I don't know anybody. If you know someone who has an internet provider that they are happy with 100% of the time, I'd like to know who that is. I would really like to know who that is. Okay, so, and I love the colors in this paper. Balmy Blue, or not Balmy Blue, Misty Moonlight is one of my favorite colors, and it was an in color a number of years ago. And so, you know what, I'm going to bring that down a little bit. And it's fine, because it's going to be covered up. And now I'm kind of wishing I brought one of those up a little bit, but it's fine. Is fine. Alright, and again, these will probably get flattened out in the mail, and that's alright. But maybe when they take it out of the envelope, they'll see a little bit of curl left, and they'll be impressed. Alright, and now that one, yeah, so this one I'm covering up a little bit more of. You know, could I have taken a whole lot more time and measured this out, like, super carefully? Yeah, I guess I could have. And then this is just going to go right over it with the happy birthday on it. And let's see, do I want to tear off some more? What I could do actually is cut a touch off the top. There we go. Yeah, because we want to see more of those pretty colors, right? And somewhere I have a Misty Moonlight ribbon that I think is expired, but I think I left it at home, and that would probably look really nice. I think I was thinking of something when I left that space over there, that I was going to want a ribbon or a bow or something at some point. So I think I'll just leave that. Now there's a time when I want to put a button on there. I used to love making cards and doing things with buttons. So if you have a Misty Moonlight or a navy blue button or something, that would be really cool too. Or a flower of some kind would be really cool. Alright, so that's card number 2. So definitely a contrast, really bright and colorful, definitely more muted. Okay, so this certainly could be a masculine card. People are always asking about that. Alright, the next one I'll just show you. Alright, now this this looks fiddly, but honestly it wasn't. I got out my 1 1/4 inch punch. This is not Stampin' Up! Paper. This is just like a paper pad that I've had here in Florida for, oh my gosh, 20 years probably. And it's super flimsy. It's just like I said, like copy paper. So I cut out, I think it was like 30 of these, but I punched them. So it's not a die I'm punching. It took me like minutes to do it. And then I started layering them from the bottom. I cut a little bit off of the edge here, probably about 1/4 inch, maybe 1/2 inch, so I could hang those over the edge and still have them meet the requirements to fit in the envelope. And I started over the edge on this side and went over the edge on this side, and then just trimmed up here and here. And then to keep the inside from looking kind of blah, and because you could see a little bit of this, I just did the same exact thing on the inside. And I put sending good vibes on the front. And I already know who I'm sending this to, and I'm going to write a personal message on the inside, so I don't need a sentiment on the inside. And it really did not take long at all. I just slabbered glue all over the place and then just started putting them down. And it was kind of goof-proof. It really was. So that's another way to use up your scraps. I had lots of little scraps from something I was doing with journals, and they were perfect for the 1 1/4 inch punch. It was just perfect. Okay, the next one, which is not a card at all, but I wanted to share it with you because it is a scrap buster technique. This is going to be either a page or part of a cover on one of my journals. So I took a sheet of sheet music, and then I took some more scraps of some scrapbook paper that I had here, also very flimsy scrapbook paper, and I used some heavy cardstock to make a template for 2 leaves. The leaf with kind of the fat shape and the pointy shape, and not leaves, petals, and the one that's just kind of basic. And I did as many as I needed. Over here I cut it off the edge. I used another piece of scrapbook paper. I didn't even use a punch. I cut it out with just scissors, because I like for my journals to be a little bit more organic than my cards. And so this will be a page, but it's a scrap buster, and there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't have done this and made it smaller and made it a card front. So that's why I just wanted to share that with you. Okay, and then where am I? Next, this was the very first, I'm sure this was the December product of the month, and this was a designer series paper called True Blue Florals. It was available for quite some time. Whether it still is, I don't know. And the technique that we're using for this card is called, I always say it wrong, cut, stack, and shuffle. And at one point I did a tutorial. I know I've used this in a class as well. Alright, so what I did, and I hope I'm remembering how to do this properly, because I think I'm going to get 3 cards out of this. And you don't necessarily have to watch me make 3 cards, but I just want to show you how it works. Alright, so again, giving that a good burnish, because otherwise it's just kind of flopping open all over the place here. Bone folders are important. Oh, I can't reach it, but you know what? If you don't have a bone folder, those things that you can buy from Pampered Chef or at the store that you use to scrape your pots and pans when you're cleaning them, they work really well too. I know bone folders were originally made from whale's bone, and I don't know if they were used for creasing paper or fabric or both. I'm not really sure. I'm sure if you Google it, you'll get all kinds of information. I don't know why I never did Google that, or maybe I did and I don't remember. That's probably more the case. Alright, so I've got some white pieces there, and we're going to use those to build our card on, just like we did with the one that we just did. So I've got 3 of the pieces of paper from that thing, and basically this is the same as that, but that's the back side, and then this one is slightly different, and I haven't decided which one I want to use. But what you're going to do is you're going to stack all 3 of these, and they're 4 by 5 1/4. You're going to stack them together. Okay, I think I'm going to try to use the baby cutter. I really am. And there's kind of no wrong way to do this, except that you have to hold them tight, and you have to make sure that they're not slipping and sliding on you. And we're just going to make cuts. So we're going to make 2 cuts that will leave us with 3 pieces. Okay, so I think this is kind of what I'm looking for here. And I'm pressing down on that guard. And that's the way that works for me, is just to kind of gently hit it. And then, still holding them together very carefully, I'm going to put them in again. And I'm going to cut another way. I'm not measuring. I'm not really overthinking this. It's just 3 pieces. All right? Okay. So there we go. So that's the cut part. All right? And then the shuffle part, actually, no, it's stack, because they're in a stack. Maybe it's stack, cut, and shuffle. I think it should be stack first, right? Because we stack them, then we cut them. Now we're going to shuffle them. So the way I think this works, if I remember correctly, is I'm going to take this top one. I'm leaving this one the way it is. I'm going to take this top one and put it on the bottom. And then for this one, I'm going to shuffle twice. Put that on the bottom, and then put this one on the bottom, so that there are no 2 alike on the top. And I want to make sure that that carries through to the second piece. So second piece, no 2 alike. Okay. And third piece, no 2 alike. You see what I'm doing there? Alright, so let's take this one. I don't want to get these mixed up though, so I'm going to put them in piles now that I already did that. And now when I take this on a 4 by 5 1/4 sheet of white cardstock, because these were 4 by 5 1/4, I should be able to put this together like a jigsaw puzzle. Now this might have been a good time for me to have paid closer attention when I cut these apart. It might have been, but you know what? Jigsaw puzzles are fun, so that seems logical, but you know, it may not be. Have you ever done a jigsaw puzzle where it looked like that was where it went and then it sure wasn't? So, and I didn't flip any over by mistake, I don't think, so this should work. Yep, should work. Hang on. Okay, so I'm trying to remember what that first cut looked like. Yeah, that's not right either. Isn't that funny? A little annoying, but funny. Alright, if anybody can see a way out of this, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep playing until I figure it out. And I wonder if it's possible that some of them do have to be flipped over, but I didn't flip anything over. I only moved them behind. So this seems like it should go here. And yet, no, wait. No, can't do that. Okay, here we go. I got it. It is also a really good idea not to use directional paper with this, because something's going to end up upside down. And with all of these, even though some flowers are upside down, some are right side up, and I think it's just fine. All right, so I'm going to put that corner down first, because that seems like a good place to start. Okay. So now what happens is that by cutting those 3 pieces of paper the way you cut them, you automatically have what you need to make 3 cards. So then all you need are 3 bases and 3 of the white pieces to use as a like as a substrate to put your pattern on, I guess. Okay, so that's that one. And then we'll go to this one. I got a little nervous there for a couple of minutes. I thought, if this takes me like 10 minutes to figure out, these people are out of here. They're going to be laughing at me and going to get a snack. Okay, so now that one goes there, and this goes right to the edge, so there's not supposed to be any border here. So it should. Now there's nothing that says that I cut these perfectly, so what I'm going to do is line this up and line that up, and then that does line up. But if there was a little bit, oh no, I dropped it. If there was a little bit, I could just cut it off. Okay, hang on. Bending over. Way over. Okay, got it. Alright, and now this goes here. Alrighty. So, also looking at this now, and it's not a big deal because I think it'll be different on another card. So looking at this one now, I see that it would have been nice to maybe have the lighter color in the middle, but I don't think you could make that happen with every card the same way. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Alright, so again, I'm not going to make you do or watch me make all 3, but isn't that pretty? And then what we're going to do, or what we would do, is the sentiment will go on a something. Alright, so it might go on a circle. The circle might be backed with maybe some balmy blue, and the sentiment will go there. And I will finish those up tonight or tomorrow morning and post pictures. I've been getting a little bit better about doing that on time. I think last week I started to do it on Thursday. So I'll tell you something funny. YouTube gave me a hard time. So they have what they call community standards. And if they think that you're saying something you're not supposed to say, like saying something naughty or referring to something naughty, then they won't post your video until they investigate. So last week's cards, one of them was called a peekaboo card, and the other one, the title was something like, "Don't let your envelopes go out naked." Okay? And I realized that those were the 2 cards that were hanging everything up, and that was why. So I changed the one to don't leave your envelopes undressed or something like that, which I thought was better than naked, but apparently not. So it took a full day for YouTube to approve those cards. I thought it was kind of funny, because I'm thinking there's just nothing naughty about these cards, people. Not a thing. Nothing naughty. All right, so I knew that I would need 3 card bases, and I knew that I would also need 3, I may not have gotten that right, 3 of these. So here's another card base. Here's inside. Oh yeah, I need insides. That's what I need. So let's see. I think I'm short just 1. I don't know how I managed that. I probably used it for something else. Okay, So that's how you do it, and I'll put the other two together later and add the sentiment to that, but I really think these are pretty. Yeah, that one needs a liner too. So that's another one. Okay, one more. So this is using the Bloom Impressions paper, which I believe was on Last Chance. If it's still on Last Chance, I don't know. All right, and that's a really pretty one, and it's got Blackberry Bliss, which is one of my favorite colors. All right, so I've got a Blackberry Bliss card base and a white inside, and then I've got that paper which has Blackberry Bliss in it, along with I think it's Summer Splash and some other, like a light purpley color. So I've got all of those, and this one is also supposed to be one of those cards with the strips. So this is one that's made a little bit differently, and it's, I think, a little bit less fiddly. So basically it starts out with you just taking a strip of paper or two strips of paper and going right across your card like that with just two of the strips of paper. All right, just two. And so what we're going to do, oh, I got two stuck together though. You're going to go across with just two. I think they're not all the same width, and I think I did that on purpose. And then we're going to cut that off because we might need those. So in this case, we're going to start gluing right away, so it's a much faster process. That's really pretty on the other side. Maybe I did think I was going to use that. Now I'm not sure. Maybe I should flip it over on the other one and use some of that. But this one didn't have all the same colors in it. Maybe that was why I chose not to do that. All right, and I should not have put glue all the way to the end there, because now I'm going to have glue on my mouse pad. That's what this is. It's a giant mouse pad. Who knew? All right, so we're going to put these two down, and this time I'll put the glue on the card instead of on the strip, so that I'm not putting glue where I don't want it. All right, oh, but I went that way. And now what happens is you start filling in, going in the other direction. So now, in other words, you're going to be going from here out, okay? And it's going to have to be angled, and at some point we're going to need to put like some little skinny strip there, but we don't need to worry about that yet. So we're going to put some of that down. And again, I'll just kind of guesstimate where I think it needs to be, but I do want to go to the edge. And then going this way, we can kind of do the same thing. It doesn't have to be directly across from it, but it could be. Right? Yeah, I'm starting to wonder, well, I got some blue, but I don't know about the blue. I must have thought I was going to use those. And maybe I will use this just because it's something different. All right, so we'll go ahead and use that. I like it. Well, that's different, isn't it? It's Carlos Santana. One of my favorites. I'm not quite sure what he's trying to tell me. I think it must have been an alarm I set for something, but I don't know what. It's crazy. I set alarms for things, and then they go off, and I just sit there going, what, am I supposed to be someplace? What am I supposed to be doing now? Why is that ringing? I don't know. Why is Carlos Santana singing to me? I don't know. All right, let's move that over a little bit. Oh, that's pretty too, isn't it? Okay, let's use that. All right, so you see, this is why our two-sided paper is great, because that cheap scrapbook paper is white on the other side. And when you make 3D projects, it's kind of hard because it's white. Okay. Let's see if we can get, yeah, we're going to need to put just a touch of something there at some point. It can be really little. Or, and I've done this before in a pinch, I've taken my blending brush, one of the blending brushes, and just blended some color into the corner if I thought the piece was too small to stick. But I think on this card, it's not going to matter. And I think just for time's sake, I'm not going to finish the whole thing, but when I do it, you'll see what I've done and you'll see how pretty it is. Okay, I'm not sure about the blue, but now I've got blue there, so why the heck not, right? All right, but I don't want that. Let's see, so we'll put some of that there. And just trim a little off, because we're going to need some of that. So these are all scraps. Like, these are pieces that got cut off of 12 by 12s, you know, when I was making something. And they were the leftovers, and I have like jars and bags full of these little pieces of scraps. Just like I've got jars and bags full of that little half-inch piece that gets cut off when you make a card from these. So you get some leftover when you cut card bases or card layers. I hope you know what I'm trying to say, because sometimes I'm not sure. All right. And I really do enjoy making these cards. Like I said, a little fiddly, but I don't mind. I do a lot of this stuff outside sometimes, not just on the porch, but like out by the pool. And I've got some friends that I sit with some days, and one of them just always says to me, I would never have the patience for that, and I can't do that. I would never have the patience for that. But she tells me she used to do needlepoint. Now, I don't have the patience for needlepoint. So, you know, go figure, right? I guess patience is everybody has patience for certain things and not other things, I guess. Now that one dried before I got it butted right up against the other one, and that's not bad. Another option would be to use a color instead of using white. So you might want to use, like, let's say balmy blue cardstock underneath, just so that something besides white would be showing through in case you don't get it all lined up. But I honestly don't know who's going to see that. Now that I've pointed it out to you, you're going to see it. But if I didn't, would you? Probably not. All right, let's see. All right, let's get some of that in there. And that's, see, like, that's so close. So almost what I'm thinking of doing is cutting off not a super small sliver, but a piece like that. Now it's going to make a little bulk, but when I'm all done doing what I'm going to do to finish this card off, I don't think it'll be visible, like, to anyone. That's what I think. So I'll tell you, I'm going to run it through an embossing folder, the whole card. And it's just, what a difference it makes when you run that through an embossing folder. It's just kind of unbelievable what a difference it makes. Yeah, so it's kind of sticking out, but it's matching, so I think it'll be okay. And the other good thing about running it through the embossing folder is that it really gets kind of squished in. So if there are any places where, you know, the glue, there might not have been quite enough glue or something, it's just going to get all smushed together. Alright, so we'll start doing a little trimming. I'm just going to do that over here. Okay, but we might need this, and who knows, we might need that, so I'll bring those back over, but we're almost done now. We are almost done. So now I'm kind of wishing I had a little more of that, but I don't think I do. Oh, would you look at that? Like, what are the chances of this being sitting here on this desk? Seriously. Like, slim to absolutely none, and yet, here it is. I cannot believe it. Alright, let's see. And I think those were 3/4 of an inch. That's what I think. 3/4 of an inch. That's really, really unbelievable. I sort of have like this recollection of seeing it. Alright, I have been kind of going solid, but then I didn't do that there, so it's better not to keep it up, I guess. I have been trying to keep my videos a little bit shorter for your sake as well as mine, so I can get my dinner. But honestly, I just got a little carried away with this one because I just think it's so much fun, and I love the end product. I love the way it looks at the end. Alright, so now let's... Alright, I'm thinking I want another one of those. I'm so glad I found that. Alright, so we're going to put that there. Oh, that's down. Alright, and this would be something that, while you don't normally see me like doing this and rubbing, I think I will. just to make sure, because that's really just going to be a sliver that really connects with the glue and gets down there. And maybe I won't cut that off yet. I'll let it stay there a little bit longer. I'm not sure what that does, but I'm going to do it. All right, and then we need a sliver there, and maybe a sliver of this would be good. Okay, so that one's going to be a little tough too, because it really is just a sliver. Now the other thing I could do, which is not necessarily typically a card making trick, is that after I emboss it, if something's loose or it looks like it's going to be a problem, I could go over the whole thing with what's called matte medium, which is kind of a little bit like Mod Podge, but it wouldn't be shiny, it would be matte in color. All right, I haven't used a lot of this blue, so let's get another piece of that in. And then we should be done. Can you hear that fan? It's the only fan that's original to the condo. It was here when I bought it, which was in 2011, and well, I don't think it was here when they built it, but it's been here a while, probably since the 80s anyway, and it makes a little whirring noise. I don't know why I haven't replaced it yet, but I haven't. Okay, so now we're just going to cut right across. You could do this with your trimmer too, but honestly, these scissors are so good, and you're able to get right up against the edge that I just like using them. With the trimmer, I might make a mistake and cut a piece of the card off. I do see that I didn't get right up against the edge there, so I'm just going to go back and do that. They have had quite a few boating accidents here in the last couple of weeks. So, I forget that the whole country doesn't have spring break at the same time. So back where I'm from, in the Rochester, New York area, they have spring break, which coincides with Easter. Here in Florida, spring break was last week and did not coincide with Easter. And then there are colleges that have different breaks, and some of them have trimesters. So what they're saying is that here in Florida, or at least in this part of Florida, they are lucky enough, sarcasm, to have 3 to 4 weeks of spring break. And this year, the spring breakers have been better. I guess the really rowdy ones went to Daytona Beach, and they had some bad stuff happen there. But they didn't come to Miami, and they didn't come to Fort Lauderdale. I did go to the beach the other night to watch the sunset, and I promised myself I was going to stay away, but I wanted to go. So I just went and I took a nice long walk, and it wasn't too crazy. All right, so there's that, and like I said, what we're going to do to it is we're going to glue it onto, isn't that beautiful color? Isn't that just gorgeous? I love that color. Just love it. There used to be one too called Rich Razzleberry that I really liked a lot. But Black Gray Bliss is very nice, and sometimes I use it a lot as a Christmas color. I don't know why necessarily. Sometimes I just get tired of all that red. But it's so pretty. And look how that frames it so nicely. All right, so I will finish that one up as well. And then I think instead of showing you one of the things that I'm making for our Easter dinner, I gotta grab the handle. Okay. Is this little basket here, and it has the duck from last year's Easter set. This is the easiest thing in the world to make. It really is, just the easiest. It starts out with a 6x6 sheet of paper, And what I did was I showed you on the back, you score it at 2 inches all the way around. So you end up with 9 2-inch squares. And then you cut up where you see the little arrows. So you're not cutting anything out, but you're cutting up on both sides of the centerpiece. Now I'm kind of cutting on the pencil lines, which are cockeyed, instead of cutting on the score lines, but it should be fine. I can't really see. So you're doing that on opposite sides, right? Because if you do it on the other sides, it's going to fall apart. And then all you have to do, I mean, this is how easy it is. I know I just said I wasn't going to show you, but it's so easy. Is burnish it down. So on all 4 sides, all 4 sides, just fold it down on all the score marks. You definitely want to score it first. It just makes life so much easier. Okay, and you're just going to do that and that. And then you literally put some glue here. You're on the center piece, on the corners. And then you take this and you fold it up together until these 2 points meet. And then you grab that back part that you just put some glue on it, that's on the inside now, and that's done. I didn't use enough glue because I was just trying to show you. So probably need some more glue, but sometimes I put it in the wrong spot. And then the same thing here. This one stays on the inside, and I do these triangles first, and then you just bring it up to a point. Squeeze that one in from the back, and then you can go ahead and add some more glue here. And that's it. Then all you need is a little strip, and you know, the size can be almost any size you like, and you glue the handles in on the inside, and it is done. I mean, it just doesn't get any easier than that. So that's what I'm putting by everybody's seat on Sunday for our Easter dinner. If I can stop eating the jelly beans. I have a problem with jelly beans and candy corn. I could eat them until I got sick. And I know candy corn is controversial, isn't it? All right, and then there was one other thing, but I will just make it and show it to you. And if there are directions that you need, I'll give you the directions, okay? So we have this card that is yet to be completely finished, and this one, which is yet to be completely finished. And just picture this as a card. Actually, if you like to make 5x7 cards, this would make a great 5x7 card. So we've got that. This one I just really like. This one kind of calls to me. These are definitely more muted colors. And the birthday card with the torn paper, but you could cut it, or you could use a paper edger punch, something decorative, a decorative edge punch. That would be kind of cool too. You could ink up the edges with a sponge dauber. That would be kind of nice. And then this one, which I really like too, because I love the colors. So I did a lot tonight, and I could have done more. I did want to show you too, just one quick last thing. I took every circle punch that I have, and I have them all, but many of them are retired. But every one that I have was at some point to Stampin' Up! One. There might have been a couple that I bought like years ago. And Stampin' Up! Also used to have these punches. So this is a Stampin' Up! Punch. It says Stampin' Up! Somewhere. Yep, there you go. It says Stampin' Up! Right there. This one was a Stampin' Up! Punch when this was their style of punch. They were kind of cool, but they were hard to store. They took up a lot of room, and they were very heavy. So I understand why they got rid of those. But they were kind of cool. So I just wrote the sizes that I have. So a 1/2 inch all the way up to 2.5 inches. And like I said, a lot of these are still current, and if not, you can certainly find them. I just think circle punches are great. They come in so handy. And yes, we have a lot of circle dies as well. Punches are easy. If you're sitting in front of TV, you can just punch away like I did with this card. I just sat on the porch and listened to the men yell at each other and watch the cars go by and just punch circles. All right, have a good night. Thank you very much for putting up with my nonsense, and I will see you 1 week from tonight. Oh, I know I'm not back. I'm not back yet. I am still here in Florida, in case you didn't catch that.